Monday, March 7th, 2022 Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting to order tonight at 6:30 p.m. Tonight's Parks and Natural Resources meeting will be held in person and virtually using Zoom. As chair, I will be leading the Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting, and the public is welcome to participate when invited throughout the meeting. Members of the public may attend the meeting in person or join via online on Zoom. If attendees experience audio problems, we suggest you leave the meeting and then rejoin. This usually fixes the issue. Additional instructions on how to participate are posted online at burnsvillemn.gov in the public meeting calendar. As usual, tonight's meeting is available for viewing on BCTV and the city's website. If you are unable to participate in this meeting this evening and would like to submit public testimony, I encourage you to email your comments to city staff or mail your comments directly to City Hall. On to the agenda. So first we have citizen comments. Are there any members of the public or on the Zoom meeting who would wish to speak? It does not appear that there is anyone tonight. And now we'll move on to the election of chair and vice chair.
Madam Chairman, can I back you up?
Yes.
Can we adopt the agenda for tonight first?
Oh, yes. So
Sorry.
any changes to tonight's agenda? All right. Do we have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
I so motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, it passes, and we've adopted the agenda for tonight. All right. So now on to the election of.
Let's go with the minutes from
With
last
the
month.
minutes of last. Oh, look at that. I totally skipped a page.
I'm sorry.
You're just trying to save paper, which I appreciate.
I was.
Yes. So the approval of the minutes. Do we have an approval of the minutes? Are there any changes? I should ask first. Any changes to the minutes from last meeting?
Nothing from staff.
Perfect. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's minutes?
Motion to approve tonight's minutes.
We have a motion to approve. And a second?
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? And that passes. Now we can move to the election. JJ.
All right, Madam Chair, thank you. So Commissioners, this has been a carry forward from our January meeting and then from our February meeting. So we've pushed this back a few times, and now happy to see all of you here and in the chambers so that we can move forward with the election of our chair and vice chair. These roles serve through the remainder of the calendar year and will get us into January of 2023, and then we will hopefully host our election again in 23. So this is something we do on an annual basis to give others that may want an opportunity, that opportunity, and go from there. In the background, I'd asked if anybody had an interest in serving to please reach out, or if anybody had an interest in nominating another person, they could please reach out. At this time, I've heard from our chairman, Shannon Woolman, and I've heard from Carlos Dabu about their willingness to participate as chair and vice chair as we move forward. I would like to ask if there are any others that would like to participate. And we have a very old system of voting. Should you ask or want to nominate another person, we will go to a paper ballot and we will have an election in that process. So, Commissioners, are there any others that wish to serve as chair or vice chair for the remainder of this year and into January of 23? Nope. Seeing none, is there anybody that wishes to make a motion in support of either Chairwoman or Commissioner Dabu as the chair and or vice versa, however they would like to see that put together?
I motion that we vote on the two offers for the positions.
Commissioner Cleveland, in any particular order?
It sounds like, so it sounds like we have interest in both positions. So Chairman Woolman would continue in the current role, and Commissioner Dabu would be the second.
Vice Chair?
Vice Chair, excuse me.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Commissioners, could I like take a vote? All those in favor of Chairman Woolman remaining as a chair and Commissioner Carlos Dabu as serving as our vice chair through January of '23? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Motion carries. Thank you.
Perfect. And now I will invite Mr. J.J. Ryan to present the review of the Parks CIP for 2022.
All right, Commissioners, this again is a carry forward from earlier in the year that we didn't have a chance to get to. But this is one of the things that we do on an annual basis, is we review the funding for the Parks Capital on an annual basis. And in your packet, you received a 5-year plan. That's just to kind of give you a broad overview. What we're going to focus on tonight is just the 2022 funding areas. So they've changed how the city has changed how we do things, and we put our spending or capital improvements into 5 categories. They are park improvements, park renovation, trail system development, bituminous and concrete surfaces, and then technology and security. These are things that we look for major investments in our park system, things that are valued over $10,000, and things that we can assign a life expectancy to, so that we can continue to plan them out as we replace them or as they come into our surface, or come into service in our parks. So let's start with park improvement. These are significant upgrades or the addition of new amenities to our park system. So our first item is we have a blanket $30,000 that we are budgeting every year. Things come up every year. Or we have a user group that may have an interest or an idea for a project in the park system, and we want to implement that. So this gives us that flexibility to do that. It also covers maybe some overages in some of the other areas that we have. The Crystal Lake beach play equipment is something that we talked about last year. I believe the number last year was about $260,000. That has been increased to $300,000 and pushed back to a 2022 project. And a little asterisk next to that one is that item will be coming back to you later this year. We'll have a look at that rendering of what that park can or will look like after the project is complete. There was some money budgeted here for sidewalk at Tennessee Park. That money has been moved back to 2023, so the $22,000 there has been pushed back. And then the other item that we've been talking about is that Kelleher Trailhead building. And we're now at about a $1.6 million project for that. You've been involved in a few steps along the way there, and so that is also another item that, once we get a final design on that, we'll have that back in front of you for additional review and approval. All right, park renovation projects. A lot of things happening here. These are the repair or replacement of existing elements and facilities in the park system. So again, a $25,000 lump sum as things come up. Borders. Borders are the containers around our volleyball courts or our playgrounds, the concrete barriers, structures that hold everything in place. We currently have $17,000 budgeted for the border at Crystal Lake Beach. Fencing, we're at $101,000. That is on hold. So there are a number of items that are maybe not specifically listed for Oak Leaf West, but we are putting those projects on hold to continue to fund other things as we go forward. $80,000 is budgeted for the replacement of a hockey rink over at Neal Park. This is something that's ongoing. This is something we do on a regular basis. We usually try to take out or pick up 1 or 2 a year where we are replacing boards and making sure that chain link and surfaces are safe and usable. We have a $121,000 irrigation project scheduled for North River Hills. North River Hills is our premier soccer facility that gets a lot of play from our youth groups and from our some of our adults that play there as well. And it's time. It's I don't know the actual number of years the current system has been in place, but based on the number of repairs we are doing out there each and every year, it's time to replace that system. Our lighting systems, so at a number of our parks have lights, whether that's at a tennis court, a ball field, a soccer field, a football field, things like that. We are looking to improve the lighting systems at Neal and Sue Fisher. One of the things we've been able to do over the past years is lighting technology has improved, obviously, but also we're able to put those lighting systems on a digital format where we can control those lights going on and off from a computer or from our phone, things like that. I can't even recall the number of times in the evening driving past Loch Levon, the softball complex on the south end of town, seeing the lights are on in the middle of a rainstorm and nobody out there playing, where I've been able to go right to my phone and quick turn off the lights and then save the city some money just for the evening. Play equipment replacement, so we have $279,000 or close to $280,000 for the playground equipment at North River Hills. In a situation like the one at North River Hills, we are looking to replace the equipment with very similar type equipment. It's not like a Crystal Lake Beach where we're looking to make some upgrades or improvements. It'll be a similar type playground equipment. So that's really not a project that will come back before you, because in the end, hopefully the playground looks the same as when it came out, but just with newer equipment. We've been working with a group that uses the Red Oak Disc Golf Course to expand our tee boxes, so we'll be improving those areas this year as well. And then some of our play areas still have sand in that play area, and that's no longer a suitable surface for a number of reasons. For safety, for one, but for also ADA accessibility. So we will be removing sand from the South River Hills play area and adding fabricated wood chip fibers to that area. Structures and buildings. This is new for this year. Many of you are familiar with the Lake Alamagnet Center for the Arts, or the house that sits in the Alamagnet Park. That house has become more of a burden. It is no longer being used by any other community groups, and we are going to be removing that house in the hopefully first quarter of 2023, although we're getting very near the end of that. Tennis court resurfacing. The courts over at Red Oak receive a lot of play, and that surface has become very worn very quickly, causing some slip hazards for those that are playing. So we will be resurfacing that court as well as the courts over at Pahasapa Park. Our frameworks plan, and I think we have it on our agenda to hear more about this at some point during the year, maybe later in the year when our director, Garrett Beck, can come back and talk to us about the accomplishments that we've reached in our frameworks plan. But Garrett, along with some of our park staff, have gone through great lengths to get out to all 76 parks and identify the amenities and features in the parks that either need to be replaced, repaired, or just removed. And so a lot of this is the removal of, we saw it out at Kelleher Park, a picnic table out in the woods that no longer serves a purpose for anybody using the park for a good reason. We have a number of little basketball courts. They're not in great positions in a park, and they're just a blacktop chunk that's kind of busted up a little bit and in a bad area. So a bad area of the park that is not very accessible. So it's either the replacement of that or just the removal of those types of things. So, and again, hopefully Garrett Beck will be back later in the year to talk to us about that frameworks plan and the number of things they've been able to accomplish over the last few years. Just simple things and how that's saving the city some money. And then the last thing we have in this area, the scoreboard replacement. That's for the scoreboards at Alamagnet baseball fields number 1 and 2. All right. Trail system development. There's $100,000 here in this area. Ryan Peterson is our Public Works Director. He's been before you and talked about the regional trail connections, things like that. There's money budgeted here. Some of this will be a study, some of it will be to verify the connections that need to happen across Burnsville in order to make our city more multimodal. I think even our city engineer Jen Desrud was here just back in January to talk about some of the things that they have planned for improving bikeways and trailways and things like that in our city as well. The funding in this category, $222,000 is allocated for concrete and bituminous surfaces. All of that money is being pushed out to 2023 right now. So that all that funding is just on hold. This might include maybe the replacement of some of those basketball courts. It could include the concrete apron around some of our buildings. I know we just redid the concrete apron around Neal Park, and I know that some of the others are in need of that replacement as well. So that's where this funding is coming from. But in 2019, we did have a project on the books, and that was to replace the basketball court at Red Oak Park. The pickleball courts at that time were being done. The Lions playground, all-inclusive playground was being done at that time, and we needed to put more city dollars towards those projects, and so we had to put the basketball court on hold. The Lions Club has come forward with another $60,000 so that we can finish off the park and put the basketball court back in place. So for any Lions Club members that might be listening at home, thank you very much. That is a project we will be getting done this year for sure. The last area we have is technology and security in our parks. This is something that's relatively new. Wi-Fi in our parks started going in 4 years ago. More demand for that. We started adding card swipes to buildings and to some of the security gates and things like that. We started adding cameras to some of our parks where it was probably more needed. So we've started funding fiber to the parks and the endpoints, whether it's a camera or a card swipe or a card reader or even computers for some of our concession stands, things like that. These projects, there isn't anything specifically listed. As we start into our projects for the year, our IT department jumps in and says, hey, I think we should add fiber here. I think we could extend something there. And that's when this money starts to get spent. And that's kind of an IT's involvement with our parks program. So it's kind of nice to have that collaboration as well. All right, so with that, I think I've told you for a few years now that you will have an opportunity to review a Loch Levon nature play area. That's obviously a project that hasn't happened yet. We're gonna get there. That's I'm told it has to happen this year, so I will do my best to get that done. The Crystal Lake Park Master Plan, I think we're meeting with consultants again on Friday of this week to kind of finalize our details, so maybe that's something that will be back before you in either April or May. And then the Kelleher Trailhead, which will be coming back to you some point in time again, hopefully sooner rather than later. So, commissioners, with that, those are the items I have before you regarding the 2022 projects and the 2022 Parks CIP. I will try to answer any of your questions. A lot of these projects are being done with consultants through either our Public Works Department or through our Parks Director, or we have a person on staff that handles a lot of the project work. So if you have a question and it needs a little more explanation, I will get that answers, and I will include that in the next month in the miscellaneous part of our packet as well. So, commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Donaldson.
Well, I was talking to Ryan last fall, and he was saying that the trailhead building probably was going to cost almost twice as much, and I don't remember, was that 1,006,000 the increase, or was that the old number and it no longer reflects what that building is going to cost?
Very good question, Commissioner Donaldson. I'm told it's 1.6 million. I'm told that's the number that's the number that's in our budget.
Okay.
And that's a number that's budgeted for 2022. Commissioner Muhlenberg.
What would be going into that, the trailhead building? I know that there's a few different options as far as like, storage for trail maintenance equipment and stuff like that with the county or
Yep.
sharing it with that?
Yeah, and we also talked about it being a park that is a meeting place for families to gather, a rentable space, things like that. I don't know that there will be any nature programming happening in that building right away, but I think that's one of the things this commission brought forward when we did that, it was a couple years ago already, when we had a work session on that, that it sure would be nice to have kind of a place where we could do some nature programming to bring in folks to do that type of work. But, yeah, it will be a general public use space as well. Commissioner Cleveland.
Going back to Kelleher and the new facility, I'm assuming that there might be some non-personal, interpretive, or educational kinds of materials in it, or would that be done along the trail at, some of the stopping points that seem natural out there?
Sure. Very good question, Commissioner Cleveland. Again, as this group talked about, and some of you were not on the commission at that time, so I don't mean to tell all of you were there. But I think it was discussed that some of both, like it would be nice to have some information available inside the building so that when those that were there would be able to see, oh, hey, we should get out on the trail, at least walk the trail a little bit, maybe across the boardwalk, and we can find these things along the way. But certainly the interpretive signage that's even down at Rudy Kramer Nature area is something that I know the city's received a lot of positive feedback on. So adding that signage to the trail is something that we'll be looking into as well. I don't know that it'll be specifically part of this project, but it'll be something that will be looked into.
Sure. Thanks.
Yep.
The house at El Magnet, is that in poor condition?
Yes, it is. It is, right now, it is boarded up. All of the utilities have been turned off to that facility. I believe it was last winter. We did have some folks that were living in there that shouldn't have been. So there's been some challenges with that building. And the public use of that building, we had a group of arts folks that were using that building when that was, not that arts aren't very popular, but it was before the Ames Center was built. After that, we had the Baseball Association 191 called that home, and they held their board meetings there, and they stored a lot of their gambling pull tabs that they needed to put in storage. They have found other alternatives since then for where their meetings are held, things like that. The number of uses for that house have declined, and we would be better served trying to find a new use for that area in the park rather than having a boarded up house in that area. Not to mention, we did have a water pipe break in that house a few years ago, causing the basement to flood, and at that point, that helped us make the decision to look at, we repair, replace, or tear it down, so.
Is there a cost known to tear it down at this point?
I believe we had $150,000 in the budget for that project.
Okay.
For the regional trail expansion and improvements, I see, so we have 100,000 for this year, but the next 2 years are looking at $1 million to spend towards, I'm guessing, is that 100,000 going towards like the multimodal study that went, or is there anything that's is that process still continuing forward with that funding for this year?
Commissioner Mueller, I will have to get back to you on that. I do think a lot of that money is going towards the study.
Okay, yeah.
I'll have to get back to you, because like you just pointed out in the budgets in the next coming years, there's money that identifies projects to be completed.
Yeah.
But I will include that in next month's miscellaneous information.
Okay, no, thank you.
Commissioners, tonight, I am looking for a motion for our park staff to move forward with the projects that are listed, unless you have any other concerns. And I haven't heard any concerns, unless you have any other questions that need attention.
I so move.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, it passes.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioners.
Now we'll move on to miscellaneous. Is there anything else to be considered for tonight?
Commissioners, the only thing I have under miscellaneous items for tonight is that our next meeting will be on April 4th. And I guess looking back at our topics, I don't know that I have a hot topic or hot items planned for April just yet. So please stay tuned, and I'll try to get notification out as soon as I can if we are going to move forward with that date or not.
Perfect. Well, with that, at this time, I'd like to request a call for adjournment of the March 7th, 2022 Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Perfect. Well, with that, have a great night, everybody, and we will see you next month, perhaps.